Welcome to some new r/malicious compliance stories, where people comply to the letter but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. Thanks for all the likes and comments on the last video. If you would like to support this channel, please hit the like button and consider subscribing if you enjoy the content. And now let's start with the first story. It's called Authorized Personnel Only. I work for a kind of ISP doing in-house testing of systems to design new solutions for customers. This sometimes requires an active internet connection, which had to be activated by our airtime department, as it could be quite expensive in theory. Only the accounting part is done by the airtime department. The actual activations are something we can do ourselves, but not allowed to do so without airtime consent. Previously, I had merely asked our local airtime team to activate a system for the duration of the test and then deactivate it again once the test was completed. And this is where our story begins. A change from upper management meant that our local airtime department got cancelled and all its functions were moved back to HQ in another country. This worked out okay for a short time, until someone in management brought in a new boss for the company's airtime department. Meet Power Boss. A new boss with little insight into how operations work, but with an extreme desire to make sure every little rule is followed to the letter, doesn't matter if it makes sense or not. I quickly started to get a massive dislike towards this boss. We have all sorts of little conflicts. I file a request to have a system activated within the current week, as we have a major customer coming by to see the system late in the following week. It takes time for the databases to fill up once the system is activated, so it's important that this is done in good time to allow for this. I hear nothing during the week, but assume all is okay. Until Monday morning, when I found out that the system is not activated. For data to fill up, only airtime can do this portion of the activation. I call the airtime department and ask what is going on and why it has not been activated. Power Boss decided to take the activation out of the standard queue to show it to the team for internal training on how to do activations. I am of course furious at this point. Why they have not called me or informed me about this, as this is a major problem. I insist they do this now. Power Boss informs me that this is his decision and he is okay with this. At this time I kind of lost it. I inform him politely but firmly that he has one job, and that is to ensure that systems get activated. And he best does that job. If not, I will have to take it to his superiors in order for the system to be activated ASAP so it can be ready for presentation with the potential customer. The system gets activated during that day. But the following day, I learned from one of the upper management bosses that Power Boss had reached out to HR and threatened to file a personal harassment case against me. HR denied this though, as they saw no reason for it. I am like, what the heck? A harassment case over asking someone to do their job? Another time I needed an urgent activation of a system, and for this we, with the new system, have to file activation reports with all details. Quite tedious for something purely internal and temporary. Nonetheless, I do this and send it over. It gets rejected by Power Boss because it has not been signed by one of the VPs, who are the only ones authorized to activate a system for a customer with a write-off in the thousands of US dollars. Though it is kind of a theoretical thing, as the internal cost is virtually nothing. I try to argue that it is quite a lot of work to chase down a VP for a signature when it is a very limited time and purely internal. Power Boss denies this and says very firmly, only people on the list at the bottom of the activation forms are allowed to approve this. Your name is not on the list, so you cannot approve. Talk to a VP. It takes time, but I chase down a VP in another country and get him to sign the document and get the system activated. A couple of weeks later, Power Boss is in our new call center in Asia, out to do a demonstration on how the systems work and what it looks like in real life. Turns out that Power Boss needs a system activated and calls in and requests this. By some stroke of absolute luck, I pick up the phone. Hello, I need System X activated. Do you have a signed activation form? I don't need one, I am telling you to activate the system. According to yourself, all activations must have an activation form. Fine, I am sending it now. I do not see a signature on this form. It needs to be approved by a VP. But I am head of airtime. This is me writing these forms. I decide who can approve and who cannot. Your name is not listed on the form as one of the people who are allowed to approve. He was yelling at me. Clearly that is a mistake on the form. Just activate. Only authorized personnel can do this. Your name is not on the list. Fine. And then he hangs up. Our boss obviously complained to one of the VPs about this, but they merely shrugged and said that he himself had made the rules and the documents, that I was merely following the rules that he himself had set. The next story is called Work During the Week. Many years ago, I was doing some installation work at a customer's site. It was a multi-week job and included running fiber optic cabling, power lines and installing various terminals and nodes. The customer had negotiated a weekly payment plan based on progress. Due to the fact that the site was an operating business, we did everything we could to minimize the disruption. To that end, we worked Wednesday to Sunday and stayed away Monday and Tuesday. At the end of the first week, the finance department contacted the customer to process the first payment. The customer explained that they wouldn't pay and understood now why it costs so much when your staff aren't working during the week and only working at the weekends so they can get double pay. It was fairly common for Saturdays to pay time and a half and Sundays to pay double time, but only after you had worked a full week. My manager didn't get the chance to explain that we were working on weekends to minimize the impact on her business because she never stopped ranting and raving. So we stopped working at weekends and instead went back to Monday to Friday, locking doors so customers couldn't enter the store, and turning off the power so we could run and connect cables. It was amusing to hear the customer begging my manager to change the working hours because they were losing business. I remember laughing when he did that typical salesman approach of sucking through his teeth as he was saying, "Well, of course, if we have to work at weekends, there would be an increase in costs." The last story is called If You Don't Agree. In June of 2021, I joined a tech startup, last mile grocery and food delivery app, as a financial controller. I was told my task is to bring the gross profits into the black within a year and before the next round of fundraising. The senior team comprised of me, the group CFO, the COO and the head of grocery. The CEO was stationed outside in another country. The CEO comes to the country within a month of my joining, but does not bother to meet me. I say, "Okay, no problem. Keep your head down and do what you are tasked with." Within 2 months I have the grips on operations and financials and I laid down my plan with group CFO and he agrees to it. I make some changes in my team and I get to work on fixing things. During October, one of our competitors raises 85 million in investment and our CEO is irked. He comes again and starts an impromptu investment round. The conditions are better than before, so we get an offer of 50 million, because our overall plan was a lot smaller and more realistic than our competitors. The CEO rejects the offer. He needs an offer of at least 100 million to beat the competitor. Luckily, we get offered 200 million, but the CEO refuses, citing that this is greater than what I need and goes back without accepting anything. Come February, the group CFO suddenly quits. I knew he quit since our funds were depleting rapidly and the economic conditions in the country and globally were getting worse. I have an emergency meeting with the COO and grocery head and tell them that we need to rationalize our expenses further, and this is the plan. According to the plan, we will be profitable by June 2022. They agree to it and I get to work with my team. The CEO again does not talk to me and the CFO post remains vacant despite me being the next in line and eligible for it. Come March 2022, my plan is on track and we are expecting profitability a month earlier, in May 2022. I plan to take a week-long vacation and travel abroad with my spouse. On the third day of my vacation, I get a text from the COO that I need to come back as something has happened. I tell him I'll come back as planned and not to worry. I come back and find out that the supply chain team made an error and bought inventory 30 million more than planned for the festive season coming up in May. In my absence, the grocery head gave the go-ahead without consulting me, and the error was only identified once the vendor started fulfilling the order. This has shaken our overall plan and our cash funds are at the bottom. Mr. CEO comes to know about this. I was the one to inform him, and he immediately comes down and started literally abusing me and other members of the team verbally. This is his first ever face-to-face meeting with me. I was quite taken aback by his rudeness and heard as he put all blame on me, saying I am the CFO, when I was never appointed as such, so no purchases were approved by me. They were being approved by the COO and head of grocery. This verbal abuse goes on for about a week, during which I had broken down twice in front of my wife. I had never faced such crap before in my career, and I had worked really hard to bring the company to where it was at that point. The CEO warns us that whoever is found guilty of negligence will be fired on the spot. This is where the malicious compliance begins. I prepared detailed documents pointing out my plan and who approved the extra purchase and how I was consulted only after the error has occurred. I even prepared a plan to sell off the excess inventory and bring the money back into the fold. I try to reach him to explain, but he brushes me off every time, saying you cannot be right. After 7 days, the CEO calls us into the office on a weekend. I arrive and the head of grocery is there. They are arguing and it is getting heated up. It gets so heated up that the head of grocery shouts back and leaves, citing that he quits. As soon as he leaves, the CEO pounded his fist on the table and shouted, "If you don't agree with me, leave right now. Only I know how to run this company, and if you think I cannot work without you, think again." The moment I heard these words spewing out of his mouth, I switched to autopilot. I type in my resignation, email him right there, get up and say to him, "Please check your email, my notice starts now." I leave the building before he could respond. Immediately I call up one of my ex-boss/mentors and tell him I need to meet him. We meet and within a week we plan to start our own consultancy firm. 6 months from then, our firm has started to grow. We are working on our startup, setting up another business and managing top-tier clients. Then I get a message from the CEO through the COO after a few months of my leaving. "Hey, we need your help managing the books and finances. Our position is really bad." I simply say, "The CEO won't agree with what I have to do to fix the company, and I don't work with clients who don't agree with me." And with that, we end today's video. Let me know what you think about the stories. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the stories and today's video? I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like what I do and want to support me, please subscribe and hit the like button. I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Bye bye.